Welcome to Therapy, Tech, and Takeout. We're an entrepreneur and therapist exploring how technology is shaping mental health and what it means for how we live, connect, and care for ourselves. I'm Toni Teixeira. I'm the therapist.
And I'm Jackie Toale. I'm the entrepreneur. How you doing this week, Toni? What's new with you?
I'm doing great. Getting over a cold, but, on the mend. And this week, I'm vibing a new show that I thought I
Ooh.
was going to hate.
Do
But
tell.
turns out I'm really getting pulled in. So it got really good reviews. It's called Off Campus. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And it did get really good reviews, but I saw the first episode and did not love it and told my husband, I do not love this show. He's like, just hang in there. We looked it up and they said, well, it gets better when you get, kind of a few later episodes.
Into it, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad I stuck it out. I mean, I think that this is, it is really a good series. And the topic that's really interweaved in here is really mental health. And they're really talking about mental health, and it is a college population. And I think from a therapist's point of view, it's really interesting how they're navigating that, how they're navigating identity, being who they are, self-expression.
Yeah.
Their histories. I don't want to say too much, but some of what's coming up in their history and how they're really navigating it and talking about it and mental health. So, and I think there's I don't want to give it away, but I think there's just some really good examples about how to talk about this topic, how to share about this topic and,
that's awesome.
and what it means. So I really liked it. There's a lot of skin. Surprisingly way more. It's like kind of like a sexy Hallmark,
Okay.
like a little bit of a spicy Hallmark, but I really felt like it went a little bit deeper. So I'm excited
awesome.
to see how it goes. We have a few more episodes left.
I'm so excited that you shared that too, because it's like we're in that like dearth of new TV time, and I am such a voracious consumer of all things media that I'm always eager for a new recommendation. So I can't wait to check that out.
All right, cool.
Thanks for sharing, Toni.
Let me know how you like it. And
Absolutely.
What's new on your end?
Let's see. Well, I did have an exciting TV thing to share. A couple weeks ago, John Oliver covered a story near and dear to my heart, less than 5 miles away from where I'm sitting right now, the issues going on at New College.
Yes, I saw that episode. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
New College, like, as much as I love the joke about Florida being, not being over-colleged, the town I grew up in actually had some really cool, Sarasota has some cool colleges. They have Ringling School of Art, which is like a really well-renowned like art school.
I know that.
We had New College, which was this very cool, like, different approach to education. And then the high school, the high school I went to for a couple of years, the headmaster had actually been in, I think, the first graduating class of New College. And he designed the high school around those principles too. So we didn't have like doors on classrooms and all that. It was kind of like, a lot more free thinking, free being sort of thing. And it was just such a special place. And even when I was in school, I wound up finishing out college at New College Sarasota, which shares a campus, USF Sarasota, that shares a campus with New College. Yeah, it's just it's sad to see what's happening there. And they're getting rid of USF Sarasota altogether, which is pretty devastating.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was really nice to see a national light shined on it, because it's something that makes me sad anytime I go by. For sure. But yeah. So, and then this afternoon, I am going to get interviewed by a business reporter for our local town. So I'm excited about that as
Very
well.
Cool. For the business.
For the business. Yeah.
Love it. What you're doing is really beautiful. I can see how heartfelt and feel how heartfelt it is. It's like a mission. It's not just a business.
It feels like
for
that.
you.
Yeah, it really does. It's funny. My dad used to describe his work. He worked in the same sort of people side of the industry, but he called it like a mission or like a calling or a ministry, I think was how he described it. Yeah, like a ministry kind of thing. So yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. But I'm so excited to talk about our topic today too, because it does feel so, I think, near and dear to almost everybody from what we went through with the pandemic. But just to catch folks up, we're covering an article in a place called Mind Body Green.
Mm-hmm.
And it's millions of Americans work from home. A new study shows what it's doing to their mental health. And I don't know about you, but like this article felt really like surprising in some ways, right? Like I there's that idea of, oh, I have, more flexibility and more free time and things like that. But the impact of it might not actually be positive. And as somebody who, with you working from home, and I know your husband works from home a lot too, I'm definitely excited to get your perspective on it. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. The article was really talking about the connection between working at home and the rise in isolation and distress, and that people who are working from home are more likely to seek out therapy, seek out medication, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So, like in my brain, as that was happening, I was like, I didn't read the original science article to really look to see if they, the question is this a population that's just more likely to seek help
yeah.
versus it's a population that is, really has more mental illness.
The
So
one thing on that I thought was an interesting, at least, note that they made, though, was that they didn't see an increase in any other type of health or medication
right,
related sort of activities
right,
for that population. So I'm sure it's like an almost impossible thing to get real comfortable that there's not, some
right.
level of causality between the careers people pick and their natural tendencies and all that kind of stuff, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. So sometimes it's hard to separate out like kind of parts of that data because of the population. Is it a special enough population that might actually indicate that they're more likely to get help?
Yeah.
For mental health. They might not be for, other medical disorders, but it's still really interesting data because I think the other piece was that people who work from home and don't have, like I work from home with my husband and
Right.
they work home alone and they don't have anyone else. That population actually showed more distress, more isolation, and less likely to go out socially. So, and I
Right.
think that that's the piece that's also important is how, and that says a lot, how it impacts people, how people socialize, and that they may not have the same tendency to go out and socialize. Which, when we look at like depression and we look at mental health, that's it. That's an indicator of usually feeling worse
Yeah.
and having more difficulty accessing resources to kind of feel better and to help yourself. So it's the social aspect that I found really interesting, that people are less likely to then go out and socialize. That the workplace, being able to go to a workplace, actually help people not only in the socializing within that workplace, but also those people become friends outside of the workplace.
Yeah.
Right, and so
Absolutely.
working at home, you don't have access to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah.
that was really interesting. I had never heard of the test they use, the Kessler K6 psychological distress. Is that something you come across regularly
Mhm.
in life?
It's not one that I use. I think that's a test or an assessment that's used a lot for research.
Okay.
But, like, the questions are very similar to what I might give to my clients. It's called a PHQ-9, it's a kind of a screening for depression.
Mhm.
So it has questions about that, and the GAD-7, which is for generalized anxiety disorder. It asks questions kind of about anxiety. So I think the Kessler might be one. It might be similar to that, but really used for research purposes, not for diagnosing anyone, or not that any one assessment is going to diagnose anyone. But it's part of that kind of
Right. It's
like
part of putting the picture
package.
together.
So
Yeah.
I think that's an assessment that's really for research and gives some really good information about what people are thinking and how they're feeling. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting because it says it asks the questions of things about like how often have someone felt worthless or hopeless or restless in the past 30 days, and I'm like, unless somebody had told me I needed to keep track of that, I'd have a really hard time thinking about all those things like over 30 days. I'd probably be a lot easier with like a week or two.
Yeah. Yeah. That the PHQ-9 and the GAD-7 are usually the last week or two.
Yeah.
That's
30
what we ask
days.
because yeah, that's true. That's what we can track.
Yeah, that's
Can't
like
always
all
remember.
my mind can hold on to. Um, no, I thought that it was interesting too that like you were saying how people who are like not like in an environment where they would see people in their home, um, how isolating that is, and it reminded me back during the pandemic. I don't know if I've talked about this before, but the company I was working for, we had a business coach that we were working with, and he said to me that I needed to do a stand up, like a morning meeting, basically, an open, non required, just like everyday meeting with everybody in the company. Not that it was a huge company, but 20 something people, and just to check in and like make
Mhm.
sure. And I was like, what? Who is going to
Yeah.
join this meeting? Like, nobody is going to. And there were sometimes, there were like 3 or 4 people that regularly joined, but it was something I actually found myself looking forward to. And it was something I like resisted 100% doing. But it was, like, good to have contact with folks,
Yeah.
and just to know how their life was going, because you didn't get it from anything else. It was something I noticed that you would hear in the office, "Oh, so and so's cat is sick," or "so and so's son is graduating," or whatever it is. You just never really had that time when you were no longer, sort of in the same space, and every
Yeah.
conversation was, like, purposeful.
And, like, during you mean, like, when things kinda started with the pandemic, and we were really just intentional about doing work and having meetings
Yeah.
that were work-related, and we were not intentional about socialization or, even on a call, even on a Zoom call. We were on, we were off, we were,
Yeah.
and then to work.
People were like, yeah, doing school for their kids and like the 900 other things. I think it was, it was an interesting time, but it was one of those that really, I think for me, kind of highlighted that, there really is something that you're missing when you're not like interacting with people, even if it's just at that like light, casual, social level.
Mhm.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, the data that they used, they actually, I think, took out the data from the pandemic. They were
Yeah,
trying
they
to do the
did.
years before, and they were doing the years after. So that's really interesting too, to know this is not
Right.
specific
Good point.
to those years. So it's really important.
Yeah, this spreads, and it was a really long-term study too, like, I wanna say 2011 or 2013?
2011, I think that
2011 to
they
2024 with those pandemic years pulled out, yeah. And, over 500,000 Americans too were part of the
Mhm,
survey, so, I mean, not a
mhm,
small, and it was multiple surveys, I think, that they
right.
brought into this, so it was a pretty large, sample size for something like this. I think the other thing too that was really important, or I guess the other question I kind of had for you was, does a digital interaction, like if people who are working from home like schedule that in, like schedule a casual digital like face to face with people, how do you think that compares to the office interactions?
Yeah.
Do you think it helps?
That's a good question. I mean, the building, one of the takeaways from the article was that if you're working remotely, you need to build intentional human contact. You have to like kind of go out of your way. So it could meet the criteria of scheduling. And I know I did this during the pandemic. I scheduled calls with friends. We intentionally
Yeah.
met on Zoom to keep that thread going. So I think that that would be a good thing.
Yeah,
Is it the best thing? I don't know. We could, there could be more than that,
for sure.
that happens, doing activities and things together would be better
Yeah.
probably than just meeting. But if that's all you got, that's really a good place to start, isn't it? If you really have no contact. And because even getting started is hard. If you've really been isolating and you haven't been going out, you don't have anyone to connect with, you don't have any, fellow employees to connect with, then it is really a good place to start. Like what you were talking about, meeting with your employees before the day just to check in.
Yeah.
So it would be nice for people who are maybe really isolated to think about making sure they spend 10 minutes on that Zoom call checking in, with other
Yeah.
people, sharing how they are and asking how other people are.
The other thing that really struck me was like, not that it's happened a ton, but I've been in places where something bad has really happened, or somebody got really bad news and we're shocked. Like, I remember a CPA firm I was working for, a woman like screamed like someone had like physically harmed her when she found out her father passed away. But like there was a whole community of us around to like hear it, be concerned, care, that like, I mean, maybe she could have caught us up on that on the Zoom the next day, but like, how sad would it be to be alone and like nobody hear you? Like it, like
Yeah,
that
that's
really broke my heart to think about.
That is devastating. That is a really good point. Things happen in real time, and when you
Yeah,
have real human beings around you in the moment, that can make the difference between, the moment when you start healing too.
for
So,
sure.
being in the experience of trauma, having people around who can support and help you, the prognosis is far better
For
than if you're
sure.
alone. In fact, what makes trauma so traumatic is the isolation piece, that we're with the difficulty, the thing that happened, the difficult emotions and all of that utterly alone.
Yeah.
Utterly alone. Yeah.
Oof. Rough.
Yeah.
I the other thing that kind of I was thinking about in relation to this was like the other things you miss out on, like the ritual of driving home from work to like help you kind of like transition or like driving to work. Like for me, it's a really something I undervalue, but like it's super important for me to be able to like have that time and like get my head from like one sort of thing to the next. And I do remember that that was a struggle during the pandemic. Like I tried to come up with some rituals that to like replace that,
Yeah.
but nothing really does it like a car ride for me. I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past, but how do you wind down from a day at remote work? What's your ritual like?
That's a really good question. It's actually a ritual that I brought to my laptop and my remote work. That was something I started doing when I was a very early in the years of my social work and working with a dual diagnosed population that really had a lot of needs, and I felt very heavy with that, going back and forth to the office. My children were very young too at the time, and I had a panic attack right after a meeting, and my fellow employees, who still to this day, they have no idea that I'm not in touch with all of them, but like in my heart, I'm so glad they were there for me. They swooped in, they saw me walking down the hall and faltering and got me and really helped me calm down. I had never experienced that before. And I realized from that moment, and that happened, it got triggered because there were so many requirements placed on us to
Mhm.
take care of this population, and paperwork and more paperwork. And I'm like, I can't do this. And I have all this happening at home. And I said, I got to do things differently. So I had a little ritual for myself when I left the office. I put my hand on literally on the handle and I walked out. I would say, I'm leaving this all behind. All of my clients will be okay. I know they'll be here tomorrow and everything will be okay. There are other people who can take care of them and they can take care of themselves tonight. And then when I came into the office on the other side of the handle, I said, my kids are okay. They're in school. Everybody's okay. And I can be fully present here. And then when I leave, I'll be there for them. And of course, if anybody called in the middle of the day and needed anything,
Right.
but I needed to also separate and like
Yeah.
know that they were okay so I can be present, and vice versa so I can go home. So I have that ritual with myself with my laptop. It's
I love
like I
that.
kind of touch my laptop. Everybody's okay. It's going to be, and when I see them again, they'll be okay till we meet again. And I also get hyper focused that if I get interrupted while I'm here, it kind of takes a while. I've had to like to kind of talk to my husband, like, okay, yeah, I'm working and I might not be as responsive between these hours because that's what's happening for me.
Yeah.
And then I really try to separate out at the end of the day that I'm like done for the day. Like
Yeah.
finding a time when you're done is so important. I know COVID time, I don't know how it was for you, but all that time was like just kind of bled and flowed into each
Oh,
other.
yeah.
I feel like I worked from 6 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night because I would log off, but then log back in and then check email and then check email again. And I felt like I actually worked more hours.
I'm sure. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
get that too because, with starting a business, it's when the work is here, you do the work. And for the past few weeks it's been all weekend long, all week long. It's just been and kind of like you said, it's not like there aren't breaks. It's not like, oh, even yesterday I went home for 2 hours and just kind of had a little downtime, but like are you making the most of that downtime or are you just like, scrolling your phone? I can tell you what I did. But
Were you scrolling your
like
phone, Jackie?
I probably was. But I think bringing this to the front of your mind to be like, okay, you need to like just have these breaks and consciously disconnect and consciously like, take those moments to reset. Just like in this study, they're saying for folks who are living alone, make time. Go do a couple days where you work in a Starbucks or, other
Right.
place or
Yeah, co-working spaces. There are
anything.
co-working
Yeah.
spaces. And I like the idea of the other suggestion they made was commit to social time. So
Yes,
just like you
just like it was a work
schedule it,
meeting. Yeah.
right? Yeah, just like you schedule it on your calendar, schedule time to meet with friends. It has to be non-negotiable though. It has to be time that you say it's non-negotiable. I'm going to do this. It's not that I'm going to do this, but if something else comes up, then I'm going to take care of that. I see that
Yeah,
happen a lot for people
for sure.
in my life. Like even for me, I meet with other therapists. We have coffee. I try to get out and network at least once a week, either in person or online. I much prefer in person. But I have a lot of people blow me off, Jackie. They're
I
like,
bet.
"Oh, I
Yeah.
got another appointment." I'm like, "Well, I set aside our appointment and made sure I didn't
Right.
schedule anyone
I take the
else during
time.
that time." So I get like super committed
Mhm.
and, but it's taken me years to really do that. And I think that helps my mental health to really commit to, my time to work out or my painting class or to meet somebody else and have some coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important. Growing up, one of my friends was really militant about that rule. Like, if we make plans, like, you do not break them because you got better plans. And
Hmm.
it was harsh, it felt like, because, we were kids and I was like learning that lesson, but it was a really good lesson to have somebody kind of teach me early on,
Wow.
that like, hey, my time's important. I'm
Yeah.
I'm here and we've planned on doing something, like, don't just blow me off. And I really hadn't, until she kind of put it right in my face like that. I hadn't really thought about it too much.
Hmm.
And I think in work, it's something that it's like, obviously. Like,
Yes.
obviously I'm not gonna like blow off a new client meeting. Obviously I'm not gonna, not show up where somebody thinks I'm gonna show up. Like, but in your personal life, it does feel so much more negotiable sometimes. And I was just the other day, I went to my friend's dad's birthday party, and it was after a bunch of traveling and that I hadn't planned on doing. And everybody was like, "Why are you going? Just stay home," And I was like, "Because this is my friend, and she shows up. And when she invites me to something and I say I'm going to show up. I might not be there for
Yeah.
very long. I might not be there for the whole time. I might do a pop in, pop out, but I'm going to at least show up and be like, hey, I'm here. I love you guys. Because I'm in my older age. I'm learning some of these lessons again, but it is really important.
Social interaction is really important. And I'm also thinking about like, wow, this friend was so great in teaching you this lesson because she also taught you how much she cares about you
Yeah,
because she's
absolutely.
willing to say no to other people.
Yeah,
And I think we forget about that piece, like how important it is to say no to other people so we can say yes to
yeah,
ourselves and the people we already said yes to.
yeah.
So that's really wonderful. I'm going to remember what you just kind of reminded me about today about my own commitment and like stepping even more strongly into that. I love that. Yeah.
No, likewise. I think it's a good reminder for all of us. It's so easy to get caught up in the busyness and the hecticness of life, or even in the like comfort of being by yourself, right? Like,
Hmm.
I can totally relate to that. There would be weekends when I used to work up in New Jersey where I would try not to see a single human being because I needed that like detox. But if I had the ability to keep doing it, like, it probably would have become super unhealthy really quickly because it was
Yeah.
something it felt so like
Yeah.
quote unquote good, but not good for you
Yeah. And,
always.
and there's some other things to consider, though. Like I remember during this word came up, I think during COVID, people would say it's too peoply. Like they would start feeling like two people, like too
Yeah,
much.
too much.
And we have to balance out what's too much stimulation. What do our social batteries look like? But to really consider that, you can't have really good mental health and do it later
Yeah,
like, to sacrifice to say, okay, yes, I'm isolated and I work all day for home and doing that is like extra.
yeah,
And I'll take care of my mental health, like here in this
right.
isolated place. Like, yeah, that probably isn't going to be helpful to
Yeah,
to stay. So, within your boundaries, what feels healthy, what feels like it's within your, kind of social battery, and feels like you can regroup from after, that's the kind of thing. It's not like forcing yourself to do
yeah.
things that you don't want to do. Maybe there is something that you want to do, even if it's going out and having a cup of coffee. And I think it was the article. Maybe I read this somewhere else. Yeah, the leaning into being in small interactions.
Mhm.
Like even if you're going out, instead of making that cup of coffee, go out and make that cup of coffee and say hi to the barista, say hi to somebody online next
Yeah.
to you, or smile, and that can those little interactions can shift things too, because things happen in micro moments.
Yeah.
That's how they change. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's beautiful. Well, I loved this. I thought this was really so important to bring up as people, like, especially as a person who kind of battles myself with the topic. I love the isolation, and I also know I love cookies. You can't just live off of them. My doctor keeps reminding me that it's not a full food group. Like you said, you got to do it in a way that um makes
Small.
sense. Yeah, and
Small.
feels.
And the smallest step might be having a Zoom call with,
Mhm.
a fellow worker, or, doing something like that. That might be the smallest step. So I would say my takeaway might be, what's the smallest step you can take moving in that direction, and then take it.
Yeah,
But to really consider that, is this really what you want, to be isolated? For people who are home and working all day and not considering like, that's extra, I don't need to do that. Is that really fulfilling you to
yeah,
just be home? Is that like, okay? Is that the memory that you want to have of your life as you look back on it? Because I think we tend to remember not how much work we got done, but who the
those
people were.
moments. Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
those moments. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank
Thanks
you
for,
so much, Tony, for taking the time. I love it as always.
thank you too.
Absolutely. And I think next week we're planning on having an exciting guest, so that should
Yes,
be fun for folks.
we will.
We've had some new listeners and subscribers over the past week, so thank you guys. And if you are listening to this, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you really love us, leave a rating. It helps other people find what we're doing.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Tony. Thank you, everyone. We will talk to you
Thank
guys
you.
next week. Whoa, I'm stuck in my headphones. Bye.